So the other day, while being chronically online, I found a short titled Why Ocarina of Time's Dungeons Are So Good. And it got me thinking. Ocarina of Time 3D is one of my favorite games in the Zelda franchise, but could we get rid of the dungeons entirely? Is something like that even possible? Would the game even be beatable? So to find out, I decided I would give this challenge a try. I chose the 3DS remake over the original because everyone knows that the original is so broken that it's definitely possible. Between Ace and SRM, there's no doubt in anyone's mind that you can beat that game without dungeon. So let's answer the question nobody asked. Can you beat Ocarina of Time 3D without ever entering a dungeon? So before we begin, let's quickly go over the rules. Of course, actually removing the dungeons would require modding, technical skill, and way more time than I'm willing to invest in this challenge. So instead, I decided to do the next best thing. Let's just never enter one. Since the exact definition of a dungeon can get a little messy, I'm going to keep it simple. All main dungeons, all temples, and all side dungeons are off limits. No front doors, no back doors, no clever glitches to sneak inside. If it's a dungeon, I'm not going in it. Anything else in our quest to hit the credits is 100% on the table. So now that the rules are in place, it's time to begin. The game starts with its iconic cutscene, which we just have to sit through. And yes, the game's in Japanese. Why? I don't know, I felt like it, sue me. After the Great Deku Tree sends Navi to wake us up, we walk outside and immediately run into our first problem. Now, normally you would need a sword and a shield to get past Mido and enter the Great Deku Tree. That is the dungeon that will allow you to leave Kokiri Forest, but since we can't enter the Deku Tree, that just isn't viable. So instead, we need another way out, and luckily, there's many ways out of Kokiri Forest. The specific trick I'm going to be using is called a triple slash clip. To put it simply, if you swing Link's sword 3 times and put it away quickly, he takes this huge step back, and it's fast enough to allow you to clip through the guard and get out of Kokiri Forest. So before we get any further, I want to explain a bit of how the game normally plays out. Normally, the game expects you to complete the Deku Tree, Dodongo's Cavern, and Jabu Jabu's Belly to collect the 3 spiritual stones. Using the 3 spiritual stones, you can open the Door of Time, but all 3 stones are inside dungeons, which we can't enter. So we need another way to get past the Door of Time. There are 2 main ways to do this. The first is a longer method that involves getting Zelda's Lullaby, Magic, Roar's Wind, and doing some glitches. And the second method is a newly discovered setup that lets you simply jump past the Door of Time. I went with option 2 because it's new, it's cool, and it's way faster. And I'll be honest, this setup took me way longer than I'd like to admit. Well, I'll take your word for it because I don't want to have to go any higher. Damn it, Cabbage, you failed me. I can't wait for there to, like, yeah. Let's go. Hurry. Just get above the triangle. Fuck you. Hurry. Of, I'm holding. Oh. There we go. Okay, hard part over. Hardest part of the run. Now we can finally move on with our lives after half an hour. First try, thank you, Cabbage. Absolutely right. Finally, after what felt like ages, we made it past the Door of Time and moved on to the next half of the challenge. Before we head through, we also grab a bottle for later. And trust me, we'll need it. As Adult Link, you normally need to complete 5 temples in order to get the light arrows and gain access to Ganon's castle. But, believe it or not, we're not going to do that. Instead, we need a weird shopping list of items. One being the hookshot, another being the Highland Shield, Song of Storms, and the Odd Poultice. It looks pretty random, but all of these items are essential to completing this challenge. After grabbing everything, and forgetting half of it the first time, we head up Death Mountain Trail and lure Tektite towards Goron City. Because now it's time to explain one of the biggest glitches in this challenge. So to understand what's about to happen, we need to understand the steps that build towards it. The first thing we're going to go over is Death Hole Wrong Warping. Normally when Link dies, he will fall to the ground no matter where he's at, in order to play the death animation. However, if Link dies over a grotto, the game gets confused and he falls through the grotto. If we quit out as he's falling through the grotto, the game tries to load the title screen while still loading the grotto entrance. This puts us in a weird title screen state where every entrance to the game gets slightly shifted. Using this, we can go places we're absolutely not intended to go to. So if we do this over this Song of Storms grotto and Death Mountain Trail, it gives us access to Lakeside Laboratory while still in the title screen state. Inside the lab, we perform a glitch called Reverse Bottle Adventure. Put it simply, we fall into the water and try to pull out the sword. This will put the sword in a quick draw state, which means if we press B, it will instantly draw it with no animation. If we then drop a fish and try to pick it up with our bottle while shielding and holding B instead, we can trick the game into putting the fish on the B button where the sword would normally be. Because you're not normally supposed to have a bottle on the B button, the game starts to get confused and looks for a pointer on the 2 button to figure out what item is supposed to be collected. This means if we have the odd poultice on our 2 button and we drop the fish, it gives us an item value for the Nocturne of Shadow. So normally in this state, you can't play the ocarina because the title screen covers up your bottom screen. However, if we use a glitch called Ocarina Items, we can still pull out the ocarina and play Nocturne of Shadow anyway. So normally Nocturne would take you to the Kakariko graveyard. However, because we're still in the weird title screen state, it doesn't take us to the graveyard and instead takes us to the collapse sequence at the end of the game. So this is where the validity of this run is up to you as the viewer. The collapse sequence is technically located inside Ganon's castle. Should this count against me even though it's a completely separate map than Ganon's castle? Let me know what you think. And while you're down there, feel free to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more. After walking a few steps to exit collapse, which cancels out the title screen state, a few Deku Nut stuns later and the game is finished. So, is it possible to beat Ocarina of Time 3D without ever entering a dungeon? Technically, yes, although it is up for some debate. I would also like to mention there is technically a way to warp to the credits from the Gerudo Fortress archery minigame. However, it requires us to get the bow, which is located inside the Forest Temple. But maybe there is another setup out there that could completely skip collapse, ending the debate. Finally, I just wanted to say, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. It really helps out the channel and motivates me to make more content like this. This is a first video of mine, so any feedback and support will be greatly appreciated. In case you're wondering, I stream most nights at twitch.tv/malform0, so feel free to come check it out, hang out, look at all of our challenges, and just contribute to the community a little bit. We also have a Discord if you would like to hang out and talk to the other community members. Finally, I would like to give a huge shout out to Cabbage72 and the entire Ocarina of Time 3D speedrunning community. They're insanely talented and have helped me learn so much over the years. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next one.